Hola, buenas tardes a todas y todos. Mi nombre es Hubert Sacy y estoy Director General de Éduc'alcool, una organización sin fines de lucro abocada a la prevención y educación en torno al consumo de alcohol, ubicada en Montréal, en Quebec, la provincia francesa de Canadá. Y como pueden adivinar, mi lengua materna es el francés. Y como no soy de los Estados Unidos, sé que hay otros idiomas en este planeta además del inglés. Sé también que estamos en Costa Rica, que el idioma oficial de Costa Rica es el español. Así, practiqué mi presentación en español, pero a pesar de mis esfuerzos, no pude hacerla de calidad. Así, con su permiso, por respeto a su lengua, y con mucho pesar, continuaré en inglés. Éduc'alcool has been founded 28 years ago. And over these 28 years, we wanted to develop a good relation between the people of Quebec and alcohol. So we had to work a lot and learn about behaviors and try to influence people's behavior. Now, don't worry and don't run away. I will not do a theoretical presentation. This is not about theory. Anyway, we've never had theory ever. We do things, we do program, and then we write the theory. But don't tell anybody, because everyone thinks that I'm a big theoretician and a great strategist. It's absolutely wrong. My strategies has proven right in the real life, not because I'm good, but just because we did the work, we saw what is working, and then we wrote the theory. So we developed the behavior modification model, and we use it as a base for our intervention strategies. This is not a scientific instrument. It's only a tool in social communication, and it synthesizes in a way the elements that leads to change of behaviors. It's not a great for behavioral motivation, but you use it to evaluate what you do in order to bring changes. And this is valid not only in the field of alcohol. If you're in the field of environment, if you're in the field of tobacco, if you're in the field of drugs, if you're in the marketing field, human beings are all the same, and whatever your domain is, we have to use this, and we can use it. So there are 8 answers to the question, what leads to behavioral change? What makes people change their behavior? And these 8 things are not mutually exclusive. Some acts on one people, some other act on other people, and sometimes 2 or 3 of these can work on the same people, because people can be influenced by more than one thing. So we can list 8 factors, and I will give you examples to illustrate them. First of all, knowledge. Knowledge is, for some people, enough to change their behaviors. 25 years ago, nobody knew that tobacco was harmful. When the research came out and people discovered how shitty tobacco is, some people quit smoking. But Let me give you one example. When I got 18 years old, my mother offered me my first cigarette. You say, oh, you must have been a real bad boy. She wanted to kill you. No, she didn't want to kill me, even if I deserved it. But at that time, it was common. We didn't know. So I was 18, I could drink, I could drive, I could vote, I could drink coffee, I could have a drink of alcohol, and I could smoke. It was normal. And then, when the effects were known, this alone has led people to stop. But knowledge alone is not enough, because if knowledge were enough, no doctor would have ever smoked, and none of you would smoke because you all know it's crap. But it still remains at the heart of education and communication. Then, when the effects were known, people have changed their mind, and knowledge remained at the core of things. Second thing, attribution. What is attribution? It's the acknowledgement that they recognize that knowledge applies to yourself. If I continue with the example of tobacco, who have not heard this in your life? My grandfather have smoked like a chimney, 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and he died at the age of 100, assassinated by a jealous husband. While my aunt, she never smoked a cigarette ever in her life, and she died at 42 from lung cancer. They deny evidence. Of course, there are exceptions, but tobacco kills, but it's important to know that you attribute it to yourself, it can kill you, and you need to add attribution. Without attribution, there's no change, and there's something we can do about it. Number 3, attitudes. Attitudes are what determines social standards. It greatly influences changing behavior, greatly. 25 years ago, a real man, you know, un hombre, he used to drink, and then he used to drive. And when you tell him, are you crazy, you're gonna drink and drive? He said, oh, I am too drunk to walk, so I'm going to drive. And everybody used to laugh, ha, 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 ha. Today, the same guy is an idiot. So when your peers approve your behaviors, you're more likely to do it. And behaviors are an essential target if you want to put the message across. Number 4, positive reinforcement. Good habits are never, never, ever acquired. Who has never heard the following sentence from a student or for an employee? I work like crazy all day long. Everything I do is absolutely perfect. Nobody says anything to me. As soon as I make one small mistake like this, I get hell and I hear about it for the next 2 years. Everybody says that. Why? Because we all need to be told, good job, you're doing well, keep on, continue. This is called positive reinforcement. See, the Weight Watchers, they have exactly this strategy. They meet the people together. They come and then they go on the scale, and she's lost like 100 grams or 200 grams, and everybody says, bravo, bravo, fantastic, wonderful. And they got positive reinforcement. It is an absolute necessity. And now, fear. There's a French proverb that says, la peur est le commencement de la sagesse. Don't worry, don't go out. These were the only sentences in French I'm using. It says, fear is the beginning of wisdom. And it's not only a proverb, it's in real life. Let me give you just one example. Years ago, when scientists published research that showed about the effects of hormones on menopausal women for breast cancer risks, millions of women all over the world have stopped the hormones. It was completely crazy. They decided that they would not. No matter if the percentage of the impact of this was that tiny and that small. It was lower than low, and it took doctors ages to tell women, don't worry, the chances and the risks are so slow. Another example is on the highways. In my country, in Quebec, one day the police force were negotiating the salary conditions, and they said, On this weekend, we will not give any tickets to those who go faster than what's allowed. We will only give them warnings. So, believe it or not, during that weekend, I had to go to Quebec City, from Montreal to Quebec City. Usually it's 2.5 hours, and I was driving 115 kilometers an hour, 15 kilometers above the speed limit. And I was a snail. Everybody was passing me by 180, 190 kilometers, 200 kilometers an hour. Why? Because they were not scared to be caught. The fear is the beginning of wisdom. When you're afraid, it has consequences, and then you act accordingly. But you should not use necessarily fear all the time, because too much fear is not a real good idea. It can't be a permanent tactic. And now, pleasure, placer. Pleasure is a very powerful motivation. Why are young people eat poor food or play video games all day long? Why do adults stick in front of the TV and do nothing? Because they perceive this as pleasure. If you want to replace an activity, you have to replace a pleasure by another perceived pleasure, and it's not easy. It's always easier to replace a pleasure by another pleasure. You don't say to young people, stop staying in front of your video game because it's not good for you. You should go and walk. It's good for your health. This does not work. You organize a football team. You called the guys and said, look, guys and girls, let's go. Let's make a football team, and let's go against the guys of the other area, and let's win above them. And this works because they have fun in doing that. And you replace a pleasure with another pleasure, and it's vital to present the proposed behavior in a positive light so that people discover or rediscover the pleasures such as outdoor. It's enjoyable, and chances are that people will adopt it. And now let's talk about changing environments or contexts. Not an act that involves communication or knowledge exchange, but in fact, let me take just a couple of examples. Students who live on the university campus drink more alcohol than those who live with their parents. Why? Same students, same age, same education, same everything. The only difference is the context. Or for instance, take two couples, two young couples, exactly the same revenue, same education, same business. They live in the same area. They speak the same language. They practice the same religion. Everything is similar. One has 2 kids, one has no children. Those who have no children will drink more than those who have 2 small kids. And you will say, of course, they're more mature. They have a better moral values. They have a sense of responsibility. They want to be a good example for their kids. Bullshit. Absolutely wrong. Those with children, they leave work, they run, pick them after school to the kindergarten or from school. They get them home. They do the homework. They prepare the dinner. They bath, they arbitrate the fight, they brush the teeth, they tell the stories, they calm down those who cry, they kiss them good night. And then at 9 o'clock they're bloody exhausted, they don't want to drink anything. This is the difference, the context. Same couple, same everything. So the key behavior is important, and we must do what we can to influence the context. And last, solving the source of the problem. This is connected to the disappearance of the major factors that cause the behavior, environmental or personal circumstances. Let me take an example. Imagine a woman, she has 3 children. Her husband just left her to go with his secretary. She lost her job. The first child has poor school results. The second guy is a crack dealer, and her daughter is a prostitute. And then her landlord threatens to kick her out because she didn't pay her rent. This is not exactly the right moment to tell her you should quit smoking. Smoking is not good for your health. Now, 3 years later, the same lady have found a new husband. Her daughter, the prostitute, became a nun. The crack dealer became a policeman. The other guy who was not good at school became a physician. And she found a new job, now she can quit. Prevention can do nothing about that, but we have to know our limit. Now we have also to know that some people will never adopt the behavior. Whatever we say and do, we have to be modest. There are things we cannot do. We must know our limit. People put millions of research in order to understand these people, and it's extremely difficult to know. Y voy a parar ahora, porque con charlas, así como con el alcohol, la moderación siempre es de buen gusto. Muchas gracias por su atención y muchísimas gracias.